Like a roller coaster, the Sharks go down, and up, and ultimately fall down in overtime to the Vancouver Canucks 5-4. We'll break down this game and more right now on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday night, February 17th, 2022. The Sharks lose 5-4 to the Vancouver Canucks. Welcome to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live, interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game, so if you want to be part of the show, here's how you do it. Chat with us and fellow hockey fans on the page or the app. Of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Good evening in stealth mode. Shocking. Joined by Ian Reed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, roller coaster's the right way to describe this game because
right.
It was just the first period started and I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have one of these games again. After the first game, I can't watch another of these games. This is getting stupid. Thankfully, they turned it around in the second, and then, the roller coaster continues in the third, and then we get to overtime, and then we got, there's so many things to talk about.
So let's get at it. The Sharks have lost 6 of their last 7, 4 in a row. Merkley in to be with Vlasic to start. You're wondering where the offense is going to come from. But let's get at it. First period, we saw VL take a little bit of a high hit from Burroughs. That started some little rough stuff, and it definitely was a little chippy early on in this game, but I thought it calmed down later on.
Yeah, a little bit chippy to start off the game. Vancouver's in a similar situation that we are. They're pretty much on the outside looking in. It's going to take. They had that bump, the Bruce Boudreau bump, but that's kind of worn off now, and they're still back to being the Vancouver Canucks. I look at this team, and I think they're probably selling off pieces at the deadline, just much like the Sharks will. So, I think it was a little. I think they're two teams that are kind of not really happy with their lot in life, especially in Vancouver. Vancouver was supposed to be on the come up right now, and I don't know. They made some really weird moves in the summer that at least I thought they were weird moves. And it was weird because when the season started, I remember when we were doing all our season previews and stuff, I really didn't know what to make of Vancouver because there was just so much turnover there. And yet here they are kind of sucking at the bottom.
Yeah, they did not get off to a good start with, of course, Travis Green. Of course, they've gone through a full, front office haul with Rutherford kind of running the show, but he has, why can't I think of the new GM's name? I know Emily Castengay and Cami Granado are the assistant GMs, but their new GM blinds my mind.
I like that too, because it's these are people that have been obviously around the game significantly, and I've never understood the fact, I don't remember. I've never looked at a job application. It's do you have a penis? Yes or no?
Right.
But in hockey, that's definitely a thing.
And to get both of them on the side, we'll get to the game in a sec, but to get Cami Granado, who has the pedigree and everything, but also you have Emily Castengay, who's been on the agent side. I think that's a great combination for both of them.
For sure. Yeah, I think. Right now it seems like agents are kind of the in thing, and agents have definitely made the jump before, right? Let's not pretend this is a new trend, but it seems like that's the trend lately. Is a lot of agents are starting to get looks again as far as that goes, and I think it's definitely they know the game. They know that the player, especially the contract side of it, they know that game. They know how to pinch pennies and also extract. So it's always interesting when agents kind of jump into those kind of positions. So yeah, I I really like what they've done in Vancouver, kind of shaking up the front office and stuff. Obviously, it's got to translate on the ice though. And again, like this is a team that should have been on the come up. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but they seem to get energized from their chippy play and throwing their bodies around early on. You get Brock Besser getting the opening goal from Miller and Ekman Larson at 14:54, and then just under 3 minutes later, Quinn Hughes, making his return from coming off a COVID protocol, gets his third. The Sharks get outshot 15-4 after that abysmal game on Monday night.
Yeah.
Be quite honest, and even Randy was irritated on the call tonight. That's unacceptable. They cannot have periods like this. They cannot have 4 periods like this at home. They can't. Ridiculous.
But here's the thing, right? So I don't disagree, but I mean, you look at some of the ice times in the first period and they finally move things around, and it did finally get them going in the second. I was really skeptical that the second was going to turn around based on some of the weird line combinations he was throwing out. Because I'm like, oh, we're going to just spread our scoring even thinner between guys that can't score and expect better results. And like apparently that actually happened. But like, what's really dumb about this team? Let's talk about Ryan Merkley in the first period, because Ryan Merkley is a guy I think a lot of us have been clamoring to get in, right? Because it's like you lose a puck moving defenseman, offensive defenseman, and Erik Karlsson, and and then your response to that is we'll bring in Jacob Magna and Molosh, and like these guys don't play the same role,
right?
And like Ryan Merkley seems like the guy, but he's so. Like, he looked like such a mess in the first period because he knows that if he makes the slightest mistake, it's back to the fucking taxi squad with him for the next 4 games. Like, it's so stupid how, like, the grit per 60 can be through the roof, but, actual skilled players, no, we can't have that. We can't bring up, like at this point, like, the Sharks season is so fucking over. Like, at this point, you might as well just bring up, like, as many fucking kids as you can. Bring up the Blickfelds, the Leonards. Like, let them fucking play on the third line. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to lose some more games? Big fucking deal. It's better than this fourth line of guys that shouldn't even be in the NHL.
How Lane Peterson is even playing, let alone being on the second power play unit, again, is another thing that's unacceptable for this squad. You have other guys that are producing way more, that have shown a lot more chances. Now, granted, Balcers couldn't play tonight. He was a last-minute scratch. But you're telling me that Lane Peterson is the best guy on the second power play unit? I think it's
yeah, because we're gonna grit the puck over the line, right? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like some of these lineup decisions don't make sense to me. Like you went out in overtime, with Matt Nieto and Noah Gregor. Those are your forwards in overtime, really?
What message is that sending?
I don't know. Bob Boughner's an idiot.
Agreed. I mean, you're telling me you're not going to put Hertl and Barabanov, who had a pair of assists on the power play tonight, not the least of which, spoiler alert, Barabanov with the buzzer beater. I mean, why wouldn't you put the hot guys out? Hell.
Well, you got to spread it out, obviously.
Sure.
But still, like, no matter what you spread out, like, the combination of Noah Gregor and Matt Nieto should not be something where you're like going through your Rolodex of guys for 3-on-3 and going, oh shit, that sounds great.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, Noah Gregor loses an edge, and that sucks. That could happen to anybody.
Right.
Like, I feel bad for him because that could happen to anyone. It does definitely cause the Sharks to take a penalty, which causes the Sharks to have to play, against a Vancouver team that's obviously gets the extra man out, and they end up not really ever recovering, and that's the nature of the beast in 3-on-3. So I'm not going to beat up on Noah Gregor too much there because losing an edge could happen to anyone. Like it's shit luck.
Barabanov lost an edge and it led to I believe the Canucks' third goal.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of questionable calls going.
Yeah, like and Anthony
From
Sanchez,
Booger.
like saying in the chat, like Gregor and Nieto have speed. Yes, they have speed, but like, are they going to finish?
Again,
History says no.
it's like Torrey Mitchell. It's even Matt Nieto when he was coming up here. You know, it's they have a lot of speed, great on that, but you need to have the hands to finish.
Yeah,
and sooner or later, it comes down to whether or not you're hitting the net.
yeah. I mean, it's that's the thing, right? Like and I think that's the frustrating thing for Gregor a little bit more than Nieto. Like Nieto, we know what Nieto is at this point in his career, right? Like Noah Gregor, at least, like it's frustrating because he's often in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's just not in the right spot and not getting opportunities. It's just the finish hasn't been there, and you kind of hope that you get a guy like that, and if he finishes once, then he starts finishing more often. But it just hasn't panned out, and there's just certain guys where they get a ton of rope, and then there's some guys that just can't even get a look. And I think that's the frustrating thing, especially right now. Again, like this team isn't magically jumping back into the playoff race. So they're going to talk about playoffs on the broadcast because they want people to still watch. They want people to still, they want ideally more than 10,000 people to show up to a game, which is going to get harder and harder to do because we can all see the writing on the wall at this point.
Yep.
We know where this is going. It's not a matter of them being out of the playoffs. It's how far are they out? Where in the lottery are they going to pick in the draft? That's the questions now.
Yeah. I mean,
and of course, is Hurdle even a Shark when this is all said and done?
Right. March 21st is the trade deadline. You have to wonder if Hurdles goes. Is there anybody else? Does somebody want maybe like a Nieto, maybe a Cogliano? Do they want a Barabanov? Although I know Jerk earlier says announced the Barabanov re-signing.
I mean, it depends on what they're doing, right? And this is the problem, and this is the one thing, like, we don't know what they're gonna do. Like, is this a tear it to the bolts teardown of this team? I don't think so. That's what they probably should do. They should basically move anything that's not bolted down for futures at this point. But are they going to do that? I'm not sold. I think, and I don't think, like, and Barabanov's a guy I think you can bring back for a decent amount of money too. And I don't think that should be overstated, right? Like, I don't think, like, he's gonna get some money definitely on this next deal, but it's not gonna be big money. Like, it's probably gonna be for value, probably be a decently valued contract, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And look, no matter how to the bolts you tear it down, like, you still need guys around in the meantime.
Yeah.
You still gotta sell tickets and want people to watch, and that'll be the thing, because that's why I don't think the Sharks are going to do there's contracts that they're just not going to be able to move, and two, I don't think they have the stomach for it, but they should.
And knowing that they do have a plethora of forwards that are going to come into the system, and for the love of God, don't ruin their development. That show a lot of potential. And in the chat right now, the chat's going off about, do you look at Burns to get moved, even though that's you saw a trade, and this is a horrible comparison, but with Toffoli having multiple years left on his deal.
I mean, he has what, this year and next?
Yeah, and Burns has what, at
That's
least
significantly, like. But it's kind of an apples and oranges comparison, though, because Tyler Toffoli, it's this year and next year. Brent Burns, it's a $8 million ticket until he's 40.
And you would have to think that the Sharks would give some retention in that
Oh,
form
probably. I still
to
think
make something
I
happen
don't
like
know
that.
how much you would have to retain on Burns though. Like I think if you dangled Burns on the trade market, I think a lot of teams would call. I know there are people that are very, very sour on Burns right now, but I think a lot of teams would call if you dangled Brent Burns on the trade market. And I don't think you have to overly grease the wheels to get him out of town. I think a lot of GMs would call on Brent Burns.
Agreed. I mean, and a lot of people talking about Bugner, knowing that maybe, and I've seen it in the chat in here already, Paul Maurice is out there. I'm not sure if Paul Maurice is wanting to coach because he just resigned from the Winnipeg Jets,
I, I
a
I
few
don't
weeks
even
ago.
like I'm not worried about the coaching because at this point it's like I ask the question I always ask when coaching comes up, and I'm not a big Bob Bugner guy, right? But like you can do what Detroit's done and keep, Jeff Blashill. Jeff Blashill's going to get fired as soon as that team is remotely good, right?
And it's improving already. Yep.
But how many coaches does Doug Wilson get to fire? That's the thing I always go back to, right?
And we wonder what's next for DW as he's recovering from a health issue. We wish him the best on that one. So as much as the Sharks were down, and
Mm-hmm.
as much as I was pissed off about that first period, about
Yeah,
how you don't
awful.
show up, they bounced back in the second period. There, you get Couture with a lucky bounce. It goes off of Tyler Myers' stick to make it a three, or excuse me, a 2-1 game. If my math is correct, it was the first goal for the Sharks at home in 123 minutes, going back to Magna's goal in the first period against Tampa Bay back on January 22nd.
Sad.
You know, I mean, nice play. Glad it went off. Couture needed that one. The Sharks needed that one. So, you get something from Nieto and Gregor, but and then, and this was another thing that pisses me off. So Pedersen kind of runs into Reimer. Milosh gets mad as they always do. Oh, why I oughta gives a cross check.
That was so blatant. I can't believe fucking Hedekin tried to sell that. Like, that was so fucking blatant. Like, I could not believe Hedekin on the broadcast trying to sell, like, oh, well, he has to fucking cross check him like that, in front of the referee a foot away from James Reimer. Like, yeah, he bumped into him, but, like, that was such a stupid, blatant, like, you're fucking Milosh, man. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt on that call. You're not Brent Burns. You're not a veteran. Like, refs are always going to fucking throw the low-tiered guy in the box for a blatant cross-check across the back. Like, it was such a stupid penalty to take.
To which I see in the third period where Tyler Myers kind of shoves Timo Meyer, goes off balance. He runs into Thatcher Demko, and then of course, literally, and it's on our Twitter feed.
Mm-hmm.
Myers literally looks at the referee as he's cross checking Meyer on the ice. Puck is nowhere to be found, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
like it's underneath him. And who gets the call? It's Timo Meyer. It's practically the same nuance,
Yeah.
and the Sharks get both calls. I don't get the inconsistency here. Granted, it's the NHL, it's the referees. Of course, there's inconsistency, but when you
Well,
have
yeah,
something that
welcome to the
happens
NHL.
similar, yeah. But the thing is that you see that, and you're going to go off, and that just is absolutely bull kapuki in my mind. I mean, how did you see the same thing happens? Literally, the cross check happens. You call it one play in the second period, and you call it a different way in the third period. Give me a freaking break.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And I usually, and you know me, I usually don't call out questionable calls on the refs, but to have that similarity is just frustrating. Um, Getting back to the second, Lamico gets a tip off of a Burrows shot to make it 3-1 Vancouver. Um, Veal and Ekman Larson don't like each other, so they trade in roughing calls. Besser then takes a tripping call a couple minutes later, setting up Timo Meyer's first goal.
Yeah, a lot of dumb penalties from the fourth line tonight, but at least like Jeffrey VL, like he's the one. Like if you have like Bob Boughner's gonna dress one knuckle dragger, and I'm fine with it being VL because generally speaking, Jeffrey VL will generally take someone with him, and usually because it's Jeffrey VL, and I like Jeffrey VL. Like I understand like hockey skill wise, it's not really much there. He's a knuckle dragger guy, but generally the trade-offs that you get with Jeffrey VL, like you usually take someone you will always take the guy that VL goes to the box with as a Sharks fan, in my opinion, most of the time.
Agreed completely. Have one of their big defensemen go to the box. That also, it's a helpful thing to keep him out. And eventually, that penalty would end 4 seconds after the Sharks would have a power play from Besser. Meyer gets one from a nice feed from Hurdle from behind the net in Barabanov to cut it to 3-2. And then right after that, Couture goes off for interference. I thought OEL dove on this one with the little embellishment.
That was a dive, yeah.
I mean,
that was absolutely a dive.
2 weeks ago, we're calling that in overtime, but I digress. And then Miller gets obvious stripping call as he takes out Gajovic. But, kudos to the Sharks on this part. They outshoot Vancouver 15-5. Nice response back. They didn't get the lead, but they would have gotten it, within the first minute of the third. So, and that was Meyer and Hurdle and Barabanov again to tie it up at 3-3. But a nice bounce back after a horrendous first period.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a lot better about the game at that point than I did after the first. After the first, I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I can I can't do another show like we did last time. Like, it's okay to pop off once in a while, but I can't just come on and just swear for 45 minutes.
True, but at the same time, that was that first was bad. But
but I mean, if I'm sitting here, it's 1:30 now, so it means I've been awake for going on 21 hours at this point. If this game ends the same way the last game ended, I'm seriously questioning life choices at this point.
So you and me have both been up at least, let's see, I've been up for the last 18 hours. So I'm right near you, bud. We're gonna power through this, man.
Yeah. I'd be seriously questioning life choices at this point. I'm like, what are we even doing? This team doesn't deserve us. Fuck it.
So they tie it up. I thought they kept getting some chances left and right. I thought they kind of dominated the third period a little bit until Connor Garland finds a loose puck, goes roof side on a downed James Reimer to make it 4-3.
Yeah, that. If this is the goal I'm thinking, there's a couple of goals. The first two I didn't really mind. That was just, there's not much Reimer could do. And at this point, you're just can you guys just play for James Reimer, please? If you're not going to do anything else, not even for your own pride at this point, just play for fucking James Reimer, who's done everything he can to keep you in games. And then, he gets a couple of crappy goals against in the first. And then, but I thought as the game went on, there's a couple goals I really didn't like. I didn't like the one that went glove high. That one, you have to make that stop. And this one sucks because if this is the goal I'm thinking of, and again, I've been awake for 21 hours, so you have to bear with me here. If this is the one where James Reimer is kind of swimming and no one knows where the puck is, how do the Sharks always end up outmanned down low in the blue paint like that? They're always outmanned there, and I don't understand. This was such a good defensive team, and Reimer loses track of the puck, and that sucks. But no one bails him out.
You gotta give him the support.
He's bailed them out 100 million times this season. You'd think that ideally someone could return. Nope, they get outmanned. They get outnumbered in the fucking blue paint, and the puck, the puck goes in the net.
Yeah, that's frustrating to see that, to make it 4-3, and then the Sharks had a tough time just getting Reimer out for the extra attacker, but then Alexander Barabanov, I mean, that was such a crazy shot.
It was
Short side. Like 0.6 seconds left. I mean, I was like, oh crap. And then I saw the green light go on in the back, not red. I was like, oh shoot, too late.
I know. I was nervous that we were gonna like it was gonna be like oh, but no, because you're the Sharks. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Demko was pretty good tonight, but that goal was brutal.
That's one that he would like to have back.
Oh yeah, like that's one anyone would like. Just the way the positioning on it, like I think it was like, oh, we're done. Oh nope, we're not.
Yeah, and
I don't know how he's not hugging that post, based on where Barabanov was. But hey, he didn't, and the Sharks scored, and we got overtime out of it. So who am I to complain?
Yeah, and then in overtime, on a delayed penalty call, JT Miller practically had half the Sharks' defensive zone wide open, takes a shot. And, I think that's one Reimer would like to have back in that one.
Yeah, a comedy of errors. Yeah. I mean, really, there's no better way to put it. It was a comedy of errors, right? Again, I said, I kind of broke this down earlier. Noah Gregor blows a tire behind the Vancouver Canucks net. Shitty. It happens. I mean, I'm not going to get too angry about it. It's ice. It's slippery. Like, guys blow tires all the time. It was just the worst possible time you could. And then obviously the Sharks are trying to get back to play defense, take a penalty because of course they did. Like,
of course.
What else are you going to do at that point though, right? Like it's overtime. So you're either going to take the penalty or you're going to give them a goal. Well, I mean, they took the penalty and they got a goal anyway, but at that point, like that's one of those penalties where you're fine. It's a defensive zone penalty in overtime where you're outmanned, like you're gonna do something stupid, right? And you just kind of hope that you can hold on and get the face-off, win the face-off, and kill the penalty, and get it to a shootout or whatever. But unfortunately for the Sharks, they never really recovered. Noah Gregor blows a tire, and they just never recover.
Yeah, and so they lose this one 5-4 in overtime. Again, kudos for them getting a point out of, after 20 minutes. Looked like they didn't even deserve to have a point. So they get one. For those on team playoffs, you're not liking this. You're at 49 points now. You sit 3 behind Vancouver, let alone. I believe it's like 6 behind the wild card right now.
Yeah, I mean they're so fucked. I mean, there's just no other way around it, right? Let me bring this up.
I mean the Sharks are at 49 points with 48 games in. Vancouver's played 50 and has 52. Winnipeg has 52 and has played 48, so they're on the same par. Dallas still has a game in hand on the Sharks, and they're at 54. LA and Anaheim are battling up for that final playoff spot at 55. So the Sharks sit 6 points out right now.
Yeah, I mean it's 6 points, but 6 points doesn't seem like a lot. But when you look at how like the teams you're going to have to climb over, a 2-4-4, like a team that's gone 2-4-4 in the last 10.
That's rough.
Like, yeah, I mean, like there's nothing, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's things I liked about the Sharks game tonight, but let's not pretend like this is still Vancouver. This is a team that's going to be, it's not a question of which of these teams is going to make the playoffs. It's which of these teams is going to finish lower in the standings.
Right.
Right? Like, the Sharks, they're all out of everything in my opinion, but like at this point you're all out of moral victories. Like I'm not angry at this game as much as I probably would have been had it ended in regulation, but like I'm not happy with this either. Like there's a lot of really dumb, frustrating things going on with this team right now, and it's not going to get any better.
No, I mean, kudos for them. They scored 2 power play goals tonight. Good for them that they scored 4 goals, overall. I mean, to break a 123 minute home goalless drought, yeah, that's nice. Shouldn't be happening. So getting 4,
But I mean,
that's
what do you
cool, but
expect
get to overtime.
when you won't dress, like you won't play an optimal lineup? Like, here's the thing. Like, you look at, like, you want to talk like copycat league and stuff, right? Like, look at Tampa's fourth line. Like, two guys on Tampa's fourth line, like, they're not grinders. They're not tough guys. It's Boris Kachuk and Tyler Radish. Like, these guys, like, I'm not, like, obviously, like, their games haven't fully translated to the pro game, but these are skill guys. And they're on the fourth line. They're not dressing a fourth line of just, dumb, and dumber. With all due respect to Jeffrey Viel, because I actually like Viel. But, like, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's not, like, it's not Pedersen, Gadjevich, and that's the part that frustrates me, is because, like, this team, if you dressed your current third line as your fourth line and brought up some of the kids from the CUDA, and again, does it win them many more games? I don't know. Might be a little more fun to watch? Possible.
Yeah. I mean,
right? Like, you make your current fourth line and then bring up some more kids. I mean, again, at this point, what do you have to lose? Nothing.
Exactly.
But I mean, no, we got to dress, our grit per 60 has to be off the chart.
Okay, then. Well, I thought we liked Weatherby's grit. Why is he not in the lineup? Where is John Leonard? Where's Joachim Blichfield?
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, and I haven't watched a ton of CUDA games, so I don't know how their games are going. But what do you want to know? Again, what do you have to lose at this point?
Right.
Like, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah.
You especially for some guys who are like, like a Joachim Blichfeld, who is definitely in a shit or get off the pot situation.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of them are, and especially with all the talent that's in juniors in college right now that's coming, there's a lot of them that need to show up right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we remember when we were pumping up, Chekovic and Shamlevsky. I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot from Shamlevsky at all. I know Chekovic is back in the KHL.
Back to Russia. Yeah.
But
I think Shamlevsky's been hurt. I think. But again, it's Kevin Lacey question. Here's the thing too, right? And it's like, I don't know. And again, the frustrating thing for me is, it's like, I wish I had more answers. The problem is, I have no idea what this team thinks it is or what this team's going to do. We probably won't know until the trade deadline. Like,
and we need
even if this team trades Hurdle, like, you would think at that point you're signifying a rebuild, but is it? What if they extend them? Then are they coming back to win next year? Like, I don't know. And I just, like, again, it's like, which coach would you bring in? I don't know, man. Like, again, I'm thinking bigger at this point. Like, I'm not a big Bob Bugner guy, but if I would take a wrecking ball to this front office. There's some guys in the front office that I like, but, like, I think that this team I would take a wrecking ball to it, honestly. Like, I feel like there's, I don't want to say nepotism, because I know, although you could argue nepotism, although I think Doug Wilson Jr., like, I look at the way he's done things since he's stepped into his role, and I do like it. But I feel like, there's a lot of guys in this organization now that are just like, there's too many former Sharks in this organization. And that might make people sound like, oh, well, that's a really dumb thing to say.
No.
But, like, I just sometimes I feel like there's too much of an old boys club in this organization.
Yeah.
Where guys like, like Roy Somers, and he's got to pick on, right? And I feel like, But look at the development team. Now they're going to get some reinforcements next year, and they might actually be pretty good. But like overall, like I just feel like there's too much loyalty to guys that have been around too long, and I just feel like until I don't know how much changes if you don't change the front office.
That's the big key, and you'd be cleaning out big time because you have Ricci, Marchment, Nabby in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
Yeah, and again,
former
like
Sharks in
I
there.
don't want to. I just wonder if like, and again, I don't want to pick on anyone because again, I haven't really watched the Barracuda this year, so I don't want to get on Nabaka for whatever work he has or hasn't done with the goalies there or anything. But I always wonder if when the Sharks are hiring people, are they hiring the best person for the job or the best former Shark for the job? And it's not, and the Sharks aren't alone in that either. Like I think there's some organizations that are just rife with this kind of shit.
Yeah, they're not the only one that does it.
The Flyers are really bad for this too, and look where they are.
Yeah, and Bobby Clark calling out Ron Hextall not too long ago about how did you drafted Nolan Patrick over Cale Makar, and look where they're at. And poor Nolan Patrick after the other night against Colorado.
Yeah, I look at this like I don't know. I just wonder if they're really getting the best guy. Like if I was Hasso Plattner, my solution, maybe I don't take a wrecking ball to it right now, but I would bring in someone that's parallel to Doug Wilson that has no ties to the organization, at least parallel, to kind of be like to give his assessment of what's what, and then maybe you make changes that way. Like I just think someone needs to shake this thing up and get a better look at it.
And just see, with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
More than anything, fresh eyes on that one. So, Sharks lose this one 5-4 over the Vancouver Canucks in overtime. Their next game is Sunday against Jack Eichel in the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, it's the Vegas game. Get your hand cream ready, kiddos. It's time for a good Game 7 wank.
Oh, my God.
Oh, you know what's coming.
Yeah, that's great.
Remember when the Sharks were good? Wank, wank, wank.
Well, I mean, those
Barclay
players.
Goodrow, that guy who won 2 cups after he left. Logan Couture, when he was good.
So comments in the locker room. Timo Meyer saying not enough shots on net. We get too picky, or we're not getting in front of the net. We have to fight for second chances. Well, at least you understand it. Now go frickin' do it.
Timo was awesome tonight.
Timo was good. I mean, we worked.
I will not stand for Timo besmirchment.
We worked on the power play in practice. I thought that gave us some confidence today. We take a lot of pride in it, and we got success tonight. Well, that's good. You take a lot of pride in it. Where was that a few weeks ago? I mean, come on. Like, really, get your consistency together in that. We have to get wins. We have to start now, or else if it's going to be a long season. There's no time to.
It's a long season.
It's already a long season. Yeah. Hurdle saying not a great start, but second and third we played good. We still need to be better 5-on-5 because lately we aren't scoring goals. Today special teams was good, helped us get a point.
Yeah. I mean, credit to. I mean, the power play has been so putrid. It was nice to see that get going tonight for sure. Plus positive power play positive tonight.
Yeah, let's hope that can continue. With power play goals against Vegas. Oh
God.
Memories.
Yeah. God, no. My
God. So we got that. As you started it, man.
I know. But we know it's coming.
As for the Barracuda, where's the intro here?
Ooh, Barracuda.
would you believe it or not? The Barracuda won last night.
I mean,
They
I
they beat the San
every
Diego Gulls 5-1.
well, there you go. Who
Uh,
scored?
I'm pulling that up as we speak here. They ended their 5-game losing streak because that's how bad it was for the. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. Kidding. They lost 5-1 to the San Diego Gulls.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. Joachim Blichfeld with the only goal in this one. I'm surprised Daniel Regan didn't have like a freaking hat trick on that. Boy, the eyes are really playing something on me at 10:57 p.m. at night. So they're on a 6-game losing streak. They head to Texas to take on the Stars affiliate this weekend. Let's hope that there's no cold weather like there was last time when they headed to Texas to begin their season. So Barracuda are at 14-26-1. Jesus.
The future is bright, kids. The future is bright. I joke, but I mean, this is going to be a better team next year for sure. I mean, they need defense, right? The one thing where they've really suffered this year, and I think it needs to be stated, is that like this team, like we've taken all their defense, right? They've got guys that are on like ATOs, like amateur tryouts, to like fill bodies on their blue line because the Sharks have pillaged their blue line, which was mediocre to start. And which I think, that hurts. Obviously, like that doesn't help your goaltending. I don't think their goaltending's been particularly good, but when you have guys on ATOs making up most of your blue line, that's probably going to happen. And it's just one of those things, right, where there's like, we're Sharks fans. We know how this goes. A couple of, shitty goals to start a game. Hi, Martin Jones. And the game's
check
over.
on that, by the way. Yeah, go ahead. So, yeah, the Barracuda will play this weekend in Texas to take on the Texas Stars. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get things going for them. But speaking of teams that are playing also in San Jose, you have them opening up that brand new building at Sharks Ice next season. Of course, you have San Jose State Hockey. Shout out Spartans. Go Spartans there. But on the cusp of last night and Canada just had probably the most dominating 3-2 victory I've ever seen in a hockey game. Would you like to see the momentum for women's pro hockey come up around? I know the PHF is kind of more so in the East, clustered in like New York and New England, and I know the Toronto Six, and I think they're getting an expansion team in Montreal, and of course there's the PHWPA. But you think it could work out here in Northern California if they ever were to go, full continental on that?
I don't know the I don't know the financials, right? And I think that's the thing, right? Because travel's a pain in the ass. Like I don't know. Like I don't know enough about it to tell you like how do they get around? Is it a bus league? Is it are they flying coach with like with everyone else? Are they busing? Like I don't know how they get around.
Yeah, and that's the curious point. And I know they've gotten a lot of capital put into the league for this season, and even more so for next season in the PHF.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know enough about it. Like I don't know I don't know what they do for expenses or how they get around and stuff. And I wish I did know. I wish I had more time. Like I said, like this year I thought I was going to watch a lot more hockey than I have, and I just
darn work gets in the way.
Yeah, work, trying to not be awake for 20 hours at a time,
freaking
21 hours at a time, and and trying to make sure that I have like a good balance of like, like I have kids that like to do stuff with me too. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I think like obviously like you looked at like some like at least the Canada US games and even some of the other games that I caught bits and pieces of were pretty good, right? Like obviously, like I know there's always the big hoopla about Canada and the US being so dominant compared to the rest of the field, but
They're getting
I
better.
thought some of the other games like obvious like where it wasn't Canada just beating up on another team like I can't remember what it was. I think it was I'm trying to remember what game it was, but it was fine, right? Like I don't know, I think it's great. Like I think like I mean the Canada US game was the best hockey
Both of
that
them.
I watched there. Like of the men, I haven't really watched a lot of the men's game because I don't really care without the NHLers there. Like I know some people are like, oh man, no, this is the way it should be, man. For the amateurs, yeah, the amateur leagues, the Liga, the SHL, the KHL amateurs, all of them, of course, none of those guys are making a living playing hockey. Like fuck off.
No, it's
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but I don't know, man. Like I thought that game, and I kind of watched it like I watched on replay, and yeah, I mean it was like that was some good hockey. So I like the I like like my daughter watches that, right, and she thinks it's the greatest thing ever. Like I think it's great for the game, and I
That's
wish the
awesome.
women's game would grow more and do better. But like I said, I wish I could do more personally to support it, but there's finite hours in the day.
Yeah, I hope that I mean it should be a slow process. Let's not get too crazy. We saw what happened like with Roller Hockey International, and how it expanded so quickly and then kind of fell apart. The same thing can be said for arena football. I just hope that it can eventually expand. It may not expand here, although on the poll question, would you support a women's pro hockey team in Northern California? 68% of you who took part in the poll said yes. I know there are some negative comments coming in the chat right now, but I'd be curious, even if they were just a tour like the PHWPA has been doing. I think
Mm.
that'd be nice to see as well. So
Yeah, like I mean I wish I'd like to see that the women's game grow, and I think that's why you have to have it at the Olympics, because I think if you pull it out of the Olympics, then even like and it's never gonna happen. Like let's be clear here, like they're never pulling women's hockey out of the Olympics,
as
but
they
if they
shouldn't.
did, that would be such a mistake.
Yeah, big time. So yeah. So thank you for participating in the poll. To update Ian's hair follicles, Martin Jones is at an 898 save percentage. He's 6-9-2 with 18 games played, so he's gonna hit that 20 game mark. But unless he has like 4 or 5 shutouts, I think you're safe, my friend.
Unless he gets traded, I mean, could, right? Like I don't know what team's gonna look at his history and be like, I don't know, well maybe. I mean, Martin Jones can turn it on in the playoffs. We've seen it.
Right.
So I'd be curious if some team knocks on Philly's door that needs an insurance policy, maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. Other than that, though, like that's still a slim chance. So I think he could get traded to like a decent team and manage to not shit the bed. But I think the you're right. Like the numbers he would have to put up to get that save percentage up to 915 now would be pretty Herculean at this point.
Yeah. So thank you. I'm glad you have your hair still.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's getting ridiculous actually.
so with that, we will get out of here because it's time for us to go to bed. In case you
Yeah,
missed anything, you can catch Teal Town USA everywhere on your favorite podcatcher. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Of course, hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel, please. It is very helpful for us to get into the algorithm. SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course, always available at tealtownusa.com. With that, Ian, Sunday, 5 p.m. God. Vegas comes to town. And Reimer will be in net.
yeah. Like I said,
Give me some
Hand
hope.
cream at the ready.
Oh my god.
We're gonna have a Game 7 wank.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll be an interesting game, like those games always are. I'm kind of. It's gonna be interesting because there's no Ryan Reeves.
Right? There's no Ryan Reeves to deal with it. Granted, there's no Evander Kane.
Yeah, that's true.
Who freaking scored tonight for Edmonton in their dominating win over the Ducks.
I mean, I kind of want the Sharks to win. I mean, I always want the Sharks to beat Vegas, but I kind of want them to win just so, like, because I know Jack Eichel's back, and I think Jack Eichel's great. Like, Jack Eichel is really, 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 really good. But I would love to just watch, like, Vegas fans freak out, be like, "Oh my God, we traded for this guy, and Mark Stone's on the IR to circumvent the cap, and
of course,
this guy can't even score." Like, I kind of want to watch that just to get the popcorn ready and just watch them implode. But I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to this game. I always look forward to these games. It'll be interesting, though. It'll be a different dynamic without Ryan Reeves, because I think that the Sharks. It's going to be interesting to see how the Sharks play them now, because they're not, like, that element of their game. They don't really have that anymore. Like, they don't really have a guy that you're going to chase around. Maybe Marchessault a little bit, but, like, you know what I mean? We've seen a lot of games with the Sharks where Ryan Reeves really managed to just pull it off the rails.
Big time.
I'm just worried that the Sharks are going to, like, they're going to, like, be like, "Oh no, got to pull Ryan Merkley back out. Got to put some more knuckle dragging in because it's Vegas and we're going to beat them up."
Magna, be ready.
Yeah.
That is a Pucknologist takeover. So you'll get
It's true. I get a night off. Holy shit.
I know, right? You kudos to you, Ian, for six straight shows. You're starting to turn into me, my friend.
I know.
But appreciate it as always. You can find him at Ian Blogs Hockey. You can find me at PuckGuy14. Again, the Pucknologists take over Teal 10 After Dark following Sharks in Vegas. That's a 5 p.m. start on Sunday. So be there for that. Give the guys the support as always. Ian, last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when the Sharks do bad, it's bad. When the Sharks do good, it's good. And
they did both tonight.
And they did both tonight. Yeah, they did both. And yeah, I'm gonna go on the IR and circumvent the cap next. That's my goal.
All right, cool. We can finally get Brody on the payroll now.
I'm going on the IR. I've had enough.
All right, we'll get out of here. We'll see you Sunday night following Sharks in Vegas for a Pucknologist takeover of After Dark. And until then, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. All Ian, baby. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you Sunday night.
Good night.